Child and Adolescent Counselor and Teens Coach, Makit Miket Danjuma, also known as Aunty M. She also has a background as a physiotherapist. Welcome to Exo News Hour, Danjuma.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, what is teenage pregnancy and how does it affect adolescents socially?
Okay, teenage pregnancy is also known as adolescent pregnancy. So, what is adolescence? First of all, the transition stage from childhood to adulthood. So, adolescent pregnancy is pregnancy that occurs in girls less than 20. So, we have between the World Health Organization categorizes adolescence as a stage or an age between 10 and 19. So pregnancy in girls between the ages of 10 to 19 is known as adolescent pregnancy. So, and that is what it's so it is bad enough that especially for low and middle income countries that we're dealing with a lot. So one of the major challenges with growing adolescents, or should I say generally children, is teenage pregnancy. Having to deal with something that is normal for adults and celebrated now having to occur within the stage where there are so many other developmental milestones to meet, and then a child dealing with that. Imagine someone between 10 and 13 dealing with a child raising a child. Yeah, so that can be really devastating. So it's not, I don't think any community as it is would accept that. Even in communities where early child marriage is celebrated, we already know, as you stated, that it comes with a lot of medical and social responsibilities and some really inimical consequences or some negative consequences. So it's not really something worth celebrating as it is. So.
Well, how then can we sensitize more adolescent girls on the dangers of teenage pregnancy?
Okay, so I would say sensitizing adolescents generally, because it's a boy that got an adolescent girl pregnant. It's just that the effect is more, it felt more on the girls. So generally, I would always say, because it is a developing brain would want to try things that are becoming new or that are growing for that person. Adolescents are going through a transition period and they want to experiment. So education is very important. It is time where we stop shying away from the from the negative effects. So people look forward to the negatives than the positives that can come from education. So educating young people, especially in their preteens, about what to expect when they are teens, so that when it happens while experimenting or they have a decision to make, that they know that this would tamper with their future and the results that they want for their life. So education is one of the most important strategy in managing this, in managing teen pregnancy, especially for the boys and the girls.
Well, do you think that the schools of today are doing enough in terms of the educational curriculum and provision of counselors for pupils?
I think schools are trying. But I do not think we have enough counselors specifically for these purposes. So from time to time, we have the sex education, and then because the kids are excited, most times they don't really listen as they should. Some parents leave it to the teachers. Teachers feel like parents should do it. So the little they can do in the curricula is just done and then they leave it there. But then the curriculum doesn't really cover as much as it should. So it's a social responsibility as much as a corporate responsibility. I would say that it's a sector that can be invested in even by the corporate world, really.
Okay.
Yeah, like a social corporate responsibility, just an outreach to schools on education by NGOs or just the government especially. Because people think counseling doesn't really bring so much, especially for adolescents. So very few people are interested in delving
we
into.
barely see people get into that to study it.
Exactly, because it's mostly seen like a non-governmental thing to do, and then there's really not, you won't get so much out of it. And moreover, I have my own children to take care of, so most people would not really put in so much into it. So that is one of the challenge. But I think the government, the schools have to do better, because the responsibility that comes with teenage pregnancy, poverty, dropping out of school, health complications, VVF, vesical vaginal fistula, obstetric fistula, infections, and increasing the number. So the average adolescent that gets pregnant between 10 to 19, there's a very high chance of having multiple children with multiple partners.
Oh my.
Yeah, so it's actually not a very good one.
Okay, let's talk a bit more about that. In the event of pregnancy, how can the teenage girl deal with the social stigmatization that comes with it and all of the concerns therein?
Okay, so for the social stigma, I think the support around that adolescent, especially a girl, would determine how far she can go. So I know that most times the shame that comes with it isn't even about the teenager. It's about the parents and the social standing of that parent. So, but then we've seen people who are able to pick up their life. Let's look at Sarah Jakes. She's really an inspiration now, somebody that people look up to. But that's because she had the support. But remember that her father was somebody that had a lot to lose. So if we can say, people make mistakes, yeah, but then if we can pick up, we have incentives attached to, oh, fine, if you can go back to school, even if you had a child, if you can go back to school and do this for me, I can support you. Because you can't throw your child away. So if we can do that for these girls, yes, we can help them. But then we also have situations where these girls now turn it to, it's like a commercial, or should I say, it's like a business way. Yes, because of what we see on social media. So becoming a baby mama is easier to deal with. And then now we can track boys that get people pregnant and they bring money. It's not like them. So educating girls that this is not the right way to live, and helping them know that the consequence, most of the baby mamas we see now, we know what they are going through. So we really have to come out and say it the way it is, and stop packaging it in a way that, oh, we don't want to expose them to it so they don't get spoiled or something like that.
All right.
So,
Mika, before we let you go, what or how can the government play a part in curbing the prevalence of teenage pregnancy?
Okay, as I said before, education first.
Okay.
We have to support the schools, and we have to encourage counselors, and in the curriculum add so many things that can help on sexual education and understanding the body. Teaching young people to understand their body, and the way you're feeling this way because this is happening in your body. It won't last, and these are the consequences when you decide to experiment, especially within this phase of your life. And then also for the government to understand that, okay, even if this happens, what can we do for them? Especially with the death rate that happens. The death rate in adolescent pregnancy is really high, because most times they experiment and then they want to just find a way, even while giving birth, because their physical structure is not really developed enough to handle the pressure that comes with delivering children. So the death rate in adolescent girls is really high. So medical care for that, and also education. Then support for parents too. You understand, when the parents have time to raise these children because the economy is good, they will be able to watch out for the decisions or the things that they do. But when they do not, then we have situations where parents do not even have time to talk to their parents because they are trying to make ends meet, and then children are just growing on their own. So it's a win-win for everybody, the government and the parents, if we can set an economy that would support anyone, and the government is really responsible for that.
Thank you very much, Miket Danjuma, for your time this evening.
Welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Well, Miket is a physiotherapist.